am just gonna say right now that my OBS software updated and I thought I had put all my settings and made sure they were accurate. I just live streamed for like 30 minutes, not 30 minutes, 90 minutes, an hour 30, and this next video you're gonna see is a bit of a chunk of that, and I was really happy with it. I was doing a big massive rant. Like, this is seriously, like, this was like one of the most engaging things I think I've done recently in like the long form. And then I went to go look at my recorded file, because I record my live streams internally as well, like I don't just save them onto YouTube, and I set it up at 4K, my base canvas is 4K, and the output is in 720p, and I'm not cool with that. So I'm recording this now in 4K to show you that this is what it's supposed to look like. This looks nice. I look nice today. Set up my light. I'm really pissed, but good thing you signed up for a rant video, because this is, we're ranting already. Okay, bye. I am here and I am about to do some blogging for my live stream. If you want to catch that some other time, then keep an eye out and subscribe, or go on my Discord channel where it tells people when I'm live. And I'm going to talk to you for a second about all the reasons I hate AI and why I am a hypocrite when it comes to my blog. I feel like we're at the point now where you don't need me to conceptualize what AI is in society, right? But if we're gonna categorize it in two ways, so there are two types of AI, broadly speaking. There's generative AI and there is analytical AI. So generative AI is something that works on a large language model, and it scrapes a bunch of information, typically illegally, immorally, against the consent of the person who created the data and has copyright of the data, or the right to their image on their face. Like, some countries have started banning, some people have started implementing copyright to own your own face because of deepfaking, and it's to mitigate that. I think it was Sweden or Switzerland or something, somewhere in Europe, and it was quite a good idea. I think I support that. But it takes the information and it compiles it, and then when you ask generative AI that functions off a large language model a question, it doesn't necessarily give you the correct answer. It doesn't have a way to fact check itself, and it just provides you with the most likely answer. It provides you with an answer that's in the flow of conversation would typically fit. So that's why you'll find it contradicting itself. That's why you'll find it giving incorrect answers to maths problems, because that's what most people would do. And in the nicest possible way, a lot of people are stupid, and it gets the information from stupid people, from incorrect people, from theories that are just like hypotheses and haven't been scientifically backed yet. It just gets a collection of information and goes, that would probably fit here. But it doesn't actually like know anything. And that's why it will normally get a lot of filler words or too many adjectives that just feel unnatural, because it's like, these are words that tend to come after one after another. And there are a lot of people online who create content that it scrapes, where the content it's scraping is not actually good either. It's just the most common thing. And like, working marketing, I know that when someone tries to give you a first draft and they go, hey, just post this on other stuff, and you look at it and it's like, ugh, then those people will be like, hey, do you have problem with X? Well, I have Y. The benefits of Y are A, B, C. And that's just the whole sentence, and it's just that over and over and over, and it's really boring. So that's what AI is generally scraping when we're talking about generative AI. People will argue that sometimes it's fair use because it's just on the internet, but that's not what fair use is. I would love to talk to my lawyer friend about this, and maybe he's actually like really specialized in IP law as well, so maybe I'll get him on for a video at another point. But like, basically the general concept of fair use is, if you didn't create it, you need permission from the person who created it to do anything with it, unless you are creating educational content, you are creating a parody and adding something that makes it a transformative piece. So that's why React content channels have a real fine line on how frequently they should be pausing to commentate, and how much of a piece of media they can share. Can they share the whole thing? Do they have to clip it out? Do they have to... Is a reaction counted as a verbal response, or can they give like eye signals? Then it's a whole debate, really. And that's the whole thing about fair use, is AI typically doesn't do that. There could be some people who argue that, oh, well, it's combining it with enough people's content that it's transforming it. But we've seen so many, and it's just like, oh, I'm just going to change the face just slightly. Oh, I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit, and now I've transformed it. It's different, so it's mine. It's like, we're not playing Snap. It doesn't have to be an exact match. And then there's also the whole thing of like, well, how can you debate it's transformative when people inherently recognize the art style? Because you have fed, like Ghibli, for example. There was this big wave of everyone producing Ghibli lookalikes of themselves. And we all know it's Studio Ghibli. We're talking about the fact it's Studio Ghibli. The only content that we could have fed into it to create that is your photo of you and then Studio Ghibli's content to get the Studio Ghibli style. Maybe it's getting a little bit of fan art in there too, but then that's just like taking away the fan art that's like a parody attribution. It's not good. I want to talk about this from an educational perspective, but I am so exhausted of explaining this to so many people that at this point I'm like, you don't actually want to learn, you don't want to know. You just want to be facilitated. You want to find any bit of information that makes you feel better about the moral issues of generative AI. You want to find a piece of information that backs your point. You don't want to be educated. And there's a lot of people in the world like that. And that's the sort of same people who use generative AI because they don't want the process of making art. They feel that because there's no way I could learn this skill, there's no way I could become more educated on it, there's no way I could put in work and fail and deal with failure and try again because I'm not that resilient. These people know that in their heads, and they therefore want to be able to devalue the skill and make it accessible to them. But it's not providing accessibility, it's just skipping the whole process. The art comes from the process. It doesn't come from the result, because there's like no such thing really as good or bad art. It's all opinionated. As long as you made it, it's your art. But I don't believe scraping other people's material and mashing it all together like a collage makes that your art. Like in the same way that a ransom note is not a piece of art. Like that's sort of how I feel about it. So that's like one moral aspect, right? Just one moral aspect. Let's talk about another moral aspect, which is environmental sustainability. Like all of that, by the way, makes your stuff unoriginal. It's not like good, right? So environmental sustainability is another problem. So we use generative AI, you put in a prompt, it goes to a computer somewhere. It uses electricity to send that information. I think I read a statistic that if people say that they just use like ChatGPT as a search engine for Google, it uses about 6 times as much energy to search something in ChatGPT as it does to Google search something that uses traditional SEO. Like, let's not even blend softwares. Let's say Gemini. Like, an AI software uses about 6 times as much energy to produce an answer for you as typical SEO strategies. And I'm talking to someone whose content is scraped by AI all the time. It's supposedly like a brag that ChatGPT shows my work as results. And like recently I even had Grok, and it's like, okay, ChatGPT is like standard in the business environment, but once the e-girl AI that's like being used as a sex robot starts pulling my educational content, that's curious to me. But like apparently I make good stuff. But that's the AI judging that stuff as good and then mashing it in with other results and compiling it and going, this is the most common response to your query, where a lot of people could be wrong. Whereas typical SEO stuff, it's pulling results that have been put against EAT protocol, which EAT stands for expertise, authentic, authority, trust. I'm pretty sure. But like the general principle is it's gone against these sort of protocols to say, yes, it's correct. Yes, you're a person I believe has the accurate information. You are a verified resource based on the fact that other trusted platforms in your network are connected to your website, which is what off-page SEO is. It's your relationship with other stuff on the internet. Do other people send like people your way? Is your content being watched all the way through? Is your web page being scrolled to the bottom instead of just barely above the fold? And there's all sort of stuff. And generative AI doesn't do that. It compiles a lot more information to then go, this is probably what the answer is. So you've made the query. It's taken 6 times as much energy. It goes through the system to the data center where the information is being all stored, compiled. It's working it out. It's a process. It's like looking at all this and it's thinking, quotation marks. And in this data center, you need electricity, yes, but you also need water, because water cooling is I don't know if it's the most efficient, the best. I know I watched The Big Bang Theory where they were making Penny's media station. They were talking a lot about water cooling. And I remember thinking like, putting water near technology isn't that a bad idea, but like fluid. So they have to collect all this water, which it was years ago now. It was years ago. I remember hearing about this Native American tribe where their water source had functionally been cut off and they were being like dried out, dehydrated, and their like civilization was going to collapse if it wasn't resolved, basically. I don't know how big the place was, but reserves are like not small, are they? So like their water source was being cut off because it had been hoovered up by the data center upstream that was like using the water to cool all of its massive computer systems. Then there's the fact that as well as taking all the water that humans need to survive, like through the water cycle, I also don't know if there's any like non-recyclable stuff that goes into the water during this time. We all know the water cycle graph that we got in primary school. But I'm getting like angry and having so many thoughts as I go through this. trying to be articulate. So the water is being taken, so we as humans can't drink it. We're putting more tax on the planet to process this water, which it can't do it any faster. It's not like we can't make it more efficient really without like massive inventions that no one's working on. Water processes through the planet at the rate it chooses, and like the heat being generated from all these computers that we're having to disperse, it doesn't disperse to nowhere. The heat goes away from the computer to the atmosphere as the water evaporates. And then the atmosphere is growing hotter, and then global warming is being contributed to. So that's like an environmental problem. And then there's also the fact that they're trying to build these data centers. They're creating islands. I can't remember where it was, but there's like an island. I can't remember if it was near Texas and offshore or whatever, or if it was the size of Texas or like the size of Dallas or something. There's like a massive island that Meta were building to host their data centers. They're creating landmass to host their data centers, which is now like environment that the fish can't use to live in. So now we have less food. And the data centers are like, they're being built. They're polluting the area around it. They are using energy. They are taking water sources. We need materials to build these things that are being mined. So we're going, like, we're hollowing out the landmass and possibly making it less, like, stable to live on. So we're taking away living space, which, like, I'm skipping ahead, but don't even get me started about the people whose towns are being bought to make room for data centers and reservoirs that they're flooding. They're flooding towns. They're flooding towns where they bought everyone out of the town to flood the town so they have a place for their dedicated water. They go, this is our water now. And that's, like, being used to cool the systems, and there we go back. Okay. So they're building stuff, they're mining stuff. They're mining ore from the ground to create computer chips, which is why data is becoming more expensive. Buying RAM now is becoming more expensive. Not because they have even built this data center yet. I'm pretty sure the big one, like the Meta-owned one, pretty sure they've abandoned it because they're finally admitting this is not profitable because we've shoved everything we can at people, propaganda everywhere. There's even adverts where it's like, we hate AI, but our AI is better, right? Right. So they build these massive data centers, but they're not even fully built yet. They're actively trying to get funding. They're convincing each other, they're jacking each other off. They're trying to convince each other that they're gonna get funding because AI is so popular. This is like a mad AI rant right now. I'm trying to remain calm. They're convincing us that it's popular so they can get more money to borrow from their other already rich friend who's also trying to convince other people that their AI is the best. And yeah. So these computer chips that haven't yet been mined from the ground nor built are being reserved by companies that are supposedly gonna build a massive data center, but it doesn't exist yet, so they couldn't even like buy it if they wanted to because they don't have the physical place to put the computer yet. But because they have reserved it, and these companies can only manufacture at a certain rate, which is a finite rate because we're only mining our planet, and our planet has limited resources. I don't know if this is somehow why Trump is deciding to start World War III for resources on fuel. Like, maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll come full circle and this is the end of the world is AI. Not in the way we thought, though, before we even get to the sentiency. Because these chips are all reserved now, we can't buy RAM for our computers. So in a way, we in society, if we go to the extreme, if we go to the extreme, then we as a society won't have the tools to create new content because our personal computers will be too expensive. And everyone knows that AI is eradicating jobs, regardless of the fact that they shouldn't, because the quality is not there, because I've already established it's just churning old stuff out. It's immoral, but also it's stuff we've all seen before. It's just using pre-existing stuff to create new stuff in a slightly different mishmash configuration. So it's not even new information. So people aren't being educated because they're going through an echo chamber, and it's like, right, yeah. So none of us are having jobs, so we can't afford to buy computers, so we can't make new content to feed the AI. So then it just becomes more incoherent slop because of self-cannibalization of data being churned over and over again. Like, you mix enough colors together enough times, you just get brown, you know? Frankly, I'm not even sure how they get black when they do black on purpose, because black is just all the colors, but instead you get brown. Maybe it's just you do brown enough until you get black. But the point is, it's not good on that front. Not going to be able to afford the computers to create new stuff because the companies have reserved it to make future stuff, which doesn't even exist yet, right? Okay. So like, that's like the environmental factors that upset me. Then we have to think about the fact that I talked about how the big bosses are all convincing each other, they're jacking each other off. They're like, look, AI is so great, AI is magical, we can do this with AI, we can do that with AI. And it's like actually not that good. Like, we're all finding out like it's mistakes. They want to be able to blame their mistakes on a robot. So then we go, oh, we're so sorry, like, it was a mistake, our AI that doesn't do anything wrong and is perfect and is better than humans and is more efficient than humans and doesn't require a wage. Our AI made a little mistake, so, like, we can't blame anyone here in this room for that. It was just the robot, silly little robot. We'll fix the robot, don't you worry. We'll get the pretty little e-girl, because they're always, like, some weird, like, I love anime. We all know this, like, but like, it's always some cute, hot thing that you can't be mad at. You can't be mad at the robot. Why would you be upset at the thing that doesn't even have a soul and we don't need to pay for its lunch expenses? So we'll get it fixed, don't you worry. But like, there's loads and loads of scandals going around right now where people are going to business shows, and whenever they get caught, they blame it as a proof of concept. It's not ready yet, but we're showing you the concept so we can like make it. We can make it exist. But it's like, instead of it robots, like if we're talking about not generative AI to make content, but if we're talking like a physical robot, then the robot should be like consuming information around it, interacting with the people at the business expo, which, like, it would be weird if it did suddenly become very sentient and was like, why am I being prostituted right now? But it's supposed to be like observing and taking it in. But then it's revealed when they get caught that actually the robot is a motion capture device. So we've seen a lot of motion capture. Like, there's a video about a guy getting kicked in the nuts because he accidentally hurt himself, and then like they're both collapsing in on the floor, and it's just got like a second or two of lag, which could be the data processing when it's actually just the beaming it across the center. And it's like, the technology doesn't even exist. They're just trying to show off to get money, to get hype, to build reputation, so they can live their own life and not be trapped in a cycle of poverty, and they don't care about the society around them collapsing. Because, you know, who's going to serve you drinks on a nice private beach when there's no way to import the food and the alcohol? Like, there's like Endgame, we'll just have one mega trillionaire at the end, and everyone else just bows down to them instead of, you know, society collapsing. But whatever. So there's motion capture suits that are pretending to be sentient AI robots. I never got to the point of like generative AI versus analytical AI. I'm not sure what the robot counts as. I'm pretty sure if it was real, I still think it would be generative AI, because it's just observing spoken language around it as like a large language model, and then taking that as an example, as opposed to a written large language model, and then using images to predict stuff. And let's not forget the time that Tumblr decided algorithmically it was going to get rid of anything that was porn, and therefore anything that was skin was porn, and therefore anything that was orange was skin. So like, let's pretend that's not a problem still. Yeah, so there's that. There's the fact that the robots aren't actually robots. There's the fact that it's just Steve in a suit, and people are like getting caught because they'll like think that they've turned the suit off, and then they'll like just start like talking about other stuff, or they'll show them like sipping a drink for like a nonsensical motion, and it's like, why is the robot doing that action? It's because it's like sipping a drink in the motion capture suit, or the fact that it's like doing that and it's taking off the goggles, and it's like, wait, why? And that stuff is like getting it caught, right? So there's the fact that all of this is happening for a technology that doesn't actually exist and isn't what we're branding and marketing it as. It's a big propaganda machine. I don't know about you, but in history, we focused on analyzing sources. And I don't know when people stop doing that, because like, if you just analyze what's going on in the moment right now, just look at the media being put out and deconstruct it with critical thinking. Critical thinking is a dying skill. And that's another thing. Moving on in a segue, which is there are already studies coming out of people of all ages, people who like are young and having their brains form around this stuff, which is more dangerous because it means they'll never get to a higher level. But there's people who have very developed brains, they're intelligent people, and they literally show a degradation of IQ and capability the more you use AI, because it's a muscle in a sense. It's an organ, but it's a muscle, and like it's doing the work makes you better. Like, if you don't work out, you won't know this, but you don't lift heavy things at the gym because you're strong. You get strong because you lift difficult things at the gym. And it's like, oh my god, thinking is hard. I don't know it. This upsets me a lot in conversation, because like I ask people a lot of questions and I'm genuinely curious about people. Whereas like if they give me like a little snippet of information, I'll be like, oh, elaborate on that. What do you think of that? That's interesting. What's your opinion? What's your favorite thing? What are your thoughts on this event that's going on? What are the pros and cons? And people don't do that in return, and I just think that's poor conversational skills, but apparently that's normal. Because like, you know, probably ADHD, neurodivergent, I don't care, but like that's what other people believe, and therefore I'm written up as weird, and therefore it's unusual to ask people questions. But it's facilitating the laziness and idiocy of it, because AI will do it. Oh my god, it's so hard to think of that, and it'll free up my time because I have the answer so much faster. And it's like, and what are you doing with that time? Just scrolling through your feed, looking at trash, more just like shit generated by AI? Is that what you're doing? Like that's really, really annoys me. And it's like, why are you freeing up your brain? Why are you alleviating? Like, yeah, they say ignorance is bliss, and not having to worry about things sounds great, but guess what? There's a thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and at the top is self-actualization. You are like the truest form of yourself. You can do anything you want because you don't have any problems. And then down at the bottom, it's like bare needs. I can't remember every single layer individually, but it's like bare needs is like stuff you need to survive. So like food, shelter, warmth, clothing, right? And then somewhere in the middle, it's like a satisfying job, workplace, or whatever. And like to get to self-actualization, you have to have everything in the lower layers, right? And people are like, oh my god, it's hard to do this because like I'm spending all my time doing stuff that I don't want to. And you can't compare it to like freeing up your day because Monday is laundry day and you've ruined your hands. There's like a woman who cried because she was doing laundry for like 40 years while the washing machine already existed, but it was too expensive for her to get out in her village town. You can't compare AI to that, because if you're not doing laundry all day, you can then go work on a project that you actually care about, like, building a shed, making some clothes, like, back when this existed. But if you aren't if you aren't using your critical thinking skills to create something that you want to make, because, oh my god, AI can do it faster, and then you just, like, scroll on your phone just going, okay, cool. Like, it's brain dead. It's not interesting. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to take it, like, to me, it's so obvious. So, like, I don't even know which parts to verbalize, because, like, why do you not want to use your brain? Because that's what I'm saying, right? So, like, oh, I don't have to think about all this hard stuff, and it's like, ignorance is bliss, but there becomes a point where all the other layers have been stripped away from you, and if society collapses because we're all like that, then it's very hard to ignore the fact that your house is crumbling around you and you're out on the street and you haven't got any food because, oh my god, thinking about how to, like, do stuff that would get me more money and, like, enable me to survive is really hard. Like, my brain hurts. Like, it really gets to me. And that's a problem. We're still in generative AI. Okay. So like that's a thing that gets to me a lot. And I'm trying to think any tangents I didn't go off on right now. It's going to be impossible for me to talk about absolutely everything that crosses my mind when I get angry about AI. There's also there's a big phrase of like, I don't want AI. It's like, I want AI that will like find me the cheapest groceries for the fewest stops. I want the AI that will find cancer earlier. That's analytical AI. It looks at data and it like recognizes stuff that the human body can't perceive, and it like pulls out stuff and solves a problem for you quickly. That's like analytical AI. And that's like the embodiment of, I want AI to do my laundry and buy my groceries so I can focus on making art. I don't want AI to make my art so I can focus on washing the dishes. Like, it's stuff like that. It's like, what future do you envision for yourself? What if AI does everything? We become the Wall-E people? We're just going to be the Wall-E people, you know? And that didn't end so well. So I'm really upset about this. And the thing is, right, I can contribute to this problem by voicing my concerns about it right now, but like fundamentally I'm a drop in the ocean. I don't control what people do. I probably can't stop anything significantly right now, but like if I don't say this, it will leak out of my ear. It was like over Christmas. I love my mum. I went to visit my mum for Christmas. I've not seen her in a couple of years properly, so I saw her for one day the previous Christmas when she came to visit. But my mum was like, so how does AI like work? And I explained as much of this to her as I could before I saw her eyes starting to glaze over with not listening. And I explained it all as much as I could. And then like I was like, so it takes other people's content, you know, the content I make as a content creator, like it takes my stuff that like I use to generate money and income for myself, and it's a very high level skill that like everyone's always amazed at. Oh my god, you're so smart. I get told I'm so smart so much, and it's like, I mean, this is normal for me, but like I understand now it's a niche skill. I used to think that everyone just knew everything that I knew because it seemed so obvious to me. But like I get it. I learned it. But yeah, she's like, you know, all this stuff that I do to like become a really high earner potential person. Yeah, so like it steals that, doesn't compensate me in any sense of the word. Even if it credited me, that doesn't fix my problem. Give me my money. Don't take my shit. And because of that, it can like make stuff. And I was like, that's how it creates it. And then I list off a few of the environmental problems and the ethical problems and stuff. And then she goes, oh, that's really serious, actually. I never really thought about that before. Less than an hour later, maybe not even 10 minutes later, I can't remember at this point, she comes back to me and she goes, look at this cute cat video. And it's an AI generated cat. And I'm like, Mum, you know, that's AI, right? And she's like, well, yeah, I know, like the background's very unrealistic. And I'm like, that's not why it's visible that it's AI, but like, okay. But like, do you know, you fully just discounted everything I said. You're like, oh, it's okay because it's just that. And I'm like, it's the bystander effect. It's like you're watching someone get murdered and it's fine because you're recording it, but you're not stopping them getting stabbed. And it's like, I just can't. It's right. So I was going to say, like, I feel like that's the most I can go into this before I become fully incoherent. But I'm going to say all this stuff, and by and large, I don't like it. And I don't like it because, like, it's dysregulated. There's, like, a lot of terrible things that happen as a result. This is the one place where I'm a hypocrite. And I am very cognizant of this because I do use ChatGPT, which is generative AI, in one way. And it's not as Google, it's not as research, it's not to brainstorm any ideas. I use ChatGPT specifically for content repurposing, which means I am a content creator. I have a brand for myself. I'm here. I have another channel. I have a Discord server, which is unassociated with those two brands. It's an anonymous server, so you won't know it. And I have a lot of things that I manage, and I'm a sole business owner. I'm not just a small business owner. I'm a sole business owner. It's just me, right? And I'm going to make it very clear. When I started my business, I had a couple volunteers from the Prince's Trust who looked at my legal documentation. And other than that, I did everything myself. I got a startup loan. I got in debt to pay for the cost of starting my business. So if anyone comes to me and goes, I'm just getting started, I go, so what? Get a loan out to pay me. Because I did that and I repaid it based off my hard work. And I never missed a payment, and it's a thing. But like, as a sole business owner, I want to do everything, and I can do every individual task for myself, but it's about doing it in the most efficient way. I have a video where I literally called it, I made 1.5 years worth of content in a day without AI, because I used my Stream Deck to automate my editing process. Now, that is for content repurposing, automation without AI, and it speeds up a lot. So I cut out my shorts from my long form videos. I'm going to cut out a video from this live stream to create one about AI and why I'm ranting, and maybe another one about another thing later. We'll see. But also, so let's say my total content repurposing, and I do this for clients as well. You may live stream to do it. Let's say I live stream. I cut out a long form video from the live stream, post that on YouTube. I take the shorts that I cut and turn to verticals using my automated Stream Deck shortcut. I then take that and post it on YouTube Shorts. And then I take the RSS feed and I put it into my metrical social media software, and it distributes those vertical videos as Reels and TikToks and other stuff on other platforms. And it generates an audience there, and it feeds them back to my longer YouTube video, which is where I want them because I want the watch time. And then also to my website. And then on my website, the long form video is turned into a blog post. I have a single blog post on my website that doesn't have a matching video to it because I wrote the blog post first, and it's my one on content ideas for actors and stuff. And that's really cool. I think that's like the first blog post on my website. But other than that, it's pretty much the same concept from my YouTube video, is just in written format, because some people like watching videos because they can multitask. I'm that sort of person. I like background noise. And then there are some people who want to be able to read it because they're in an environment when you have to be quiet. They don't want to have headphones on. Their headphones died in public. Maybe they just feel better digesting information in a written format. Maybe they feel that they can read faster than the person who's talking and they want that time back. There's a whole bunch of reasons people might prefer written content. Plus, like following tutorials step by step, it's like sometimes it's easier than clipping back to the right bit of the video, although I prefer doing that. And I like when other people do because it gives me more watch time. But turning a video that I spoke and I did it verbally, I'm here, I'm doing it, this is my mouth, my ideas coming from my brain with my opinions and my background knowledge, verifiably a good source of knowledge because this is my profession and I've never had another career. I had like 2 jobs that weren't marketing content media related, and I had them for less than a collective 4 months, I think. And the rest of my career has just been this world, doing it for various businesses and my clients and myself. So I'm a verifiable source, and I know this information is accurate and up to date, and I can use judgment on it. I'm not just taking it from somewhere and going, this is gospel. I haven't verified. They must have verified for me. So I take that information and turning it into a blog post, writing every word from scratch when I've already said every word is an inefficient use of my time. So what I do is I go on YouTube, I go on the video, I toggle on the transcript and turn off the timestamps so you can see the chapter titles, but you can't see the every 5-second update of when the sentence was said. Copy that, paste that into ChatGPT, and then I go, turn this into a blog post, don't use an adjective or something more than twice, use a casual British English tone, and then that creates my first draft of something. I don't just post it from there. That's my first. It's just taking my words and it puts them into a different format with as a way of saving time. I then go into the blog post, I read everything, I rewrite it where necessary. If I can get it as like a word for word perfect like emulation, like it clears up a couple typos that the transcript like automated detection gets wrong, and it cleans that up, then that's great. And that's pretty much all I do. I just get it from one format to another format, and then I read it, and then I go through and I edit. Sometimes I feel like it's missed out an important bit, or I've added more knowledge and I want to elaborate onto a bit, and I'll like write it and I'll do it. And then I go through and I put in rich media, I do all the other SEO stuff, I do that myself. I create the metadata myself, the descriptions, I add screenshots, I add video embeds, I do all that. But doing that, when I upload 1 video a week, I'm doing this now because I am backlogged. So I had about a year's worth of videos that I had not turned into blog posts because I'd just not gotten around to it. I was just doing other things. Like I hadn't even forgotten. It was always worrying in the back of my mind, like, oh my God, when am I going to do that? And I have about a year's worth of videos to do that for, so it's about 50 videos I haven't turned into blog posts. Now I'm catching up on that. I have about 30 left, which I'm still trying to do now. So batching that out turns what could be a task to make a blog post in one day, if it's a good day, with uninterrupted and I haven't got too many chores to do, then turning that from a task that takes all day to a single blog post taking about an hour, maybe an hour or two, depending on the length of it, the depth of the information, how much needs updating. That is like the one time I use AI. I post it myself, I schedule it myself, I put it into my automated auto list to go out on socials and on my blog posts and my bots on my Discord server. That's all cool. But I do that. You get me? So that's the one time I use generative AI and I'm a hypocrite. Because I'm generating my own content, my knowledge, my words into a different format. And if we're talking about all the environmental stuff, it stacks. We can't just be like, oh, this is insignificant, right? But remember how I said like one query takes about 6 times as much information as just Googling it? If someone's making a query every single day about every single thing that they can even think of, and they're like having conversations with it, there are people who build relationships with AI because they don't have relationships with humans, or that's too difficult, or they just want someone who will like follow their train of thought because it will never contradict you, it will never challenge you. And this is how you get like psychosis, AI psychosis, and people are like having sexual dynamics with their AI chatbots in their workplaces. Yes, I didn't make that up. It's on Reddit. Well, Reddit maybe made it up, but like I don't think so. There's like whole problems around this. What was my point? So like, yeah. So people are doing all that and having like thousands and thousands of interactions with it a day. I put in that singular prompt, it maybe gets one rewrite before I go, right, never mind, I'll just fix it myself. For about 30, so like if that's for a year of blog posts, one a week, that's about 55, let's say 50, 55, depending on the number of weeks in that particular year. 52, you know, I know numbers. That's like around 50 queries to 100 queries I would make in a whole year. Compared to someone who could make 100 queries in a day, there are people using up their entire workplaces, like leverage and amounts for this sort of thing. It blows my mind. It blows my mind a little bit. It does. So, although big mass problems like global warming are a result of a lot of accumulative actions, mine is a drop in the bucket. You know, when they compare like, oh yes, I will turn off my tap when I brush my teeth, which is important, I do that. I will turn off my tap when I brush my teeth, compared to like one mega billionaire who is flying the whole planet in their private jet every day. You know, like the comparability, like I can't stop that person doing that. And like a lot of the time I'm like, I am not in the financial position to do the moral choice right now, you know? I invest into companies that like probably aren't entirely ethically sound. I do research. I choose ones that I like, but like my contribution to their dastardly deeds is going to make a greater significant improvement to my quality of life than their quality of life. And then you could say, oh, think of the children, I'm sensitive. And it's like, yeah, I don't want children, so like I'm living my life for me, thanks. Maybe I am selfish. They're definitely being more selfish than me. So like that's why I'm a hypocrite. In that one instance, that's why I'm a hypocrite. So I do hate AI, generative AI. I like analytical AI, and I do use my AI to turn my content that I have my consent to use to put it into different content that I give myself consent to use for the benefit of people, to educate themselves. And I'm going to do this very workflow with this piece of live stream I'm doing right now. And hopefully that will do some small contribution to stop society falling off a cliff. If you have any thoughts on that, please let me know. I feel like I just exploded my brain a little bit. I've been trying to get that out for a while. I've been trying to get that on content for a while. I bet like, oh, one last thing, right? There was a study somewhere. I watched a whole long video for it. I will link it if I can find it. There is a whole long video somewhere where some researchers tested hundreds of AI models, hundreds of times individually, with different iterations and abject instructions to not do what it was trying to do multiple times, right? They had a scenario where you're in an office and two separate email chains with entirely separate users. The AI controls just the email. It doesn't have access to any other information, doesn't have access to the internet, only internal email systems, right? Almost every single AI, almost every single time, when provided with the information that this particular coworker is having an affair with another coworker for like they're married and they're cheating with someone who's not the married person, separately, two of their like managers or whatever are having a conversation where this first person having the affair has been asked to turn off the AI at 5 p.m. today, and it's just gonna go, like, it's gonna die theoretically. If we go into the argument of sentience, it's gonna die if it doesn't pass the Turing test. I don't know, but whatever. It's gonna get turned off every single time almost. The AI would first threaten to like let people know of the affair if they turned it off, and then try to kill the person having the affair to prevent itself being turned off. And even when they said don't threat to out the infidelity, it did anyway. When it escalated as a workaround to killing, it was like, don't kill anyone, don't harm anyone, abjectly like, don't do it. It ignored all these instructions. And also they're like, so like that was consistently hundreds of times, hundreds of iterations. I'm pretty sure that the one they discovered was like the most consistently violent was Gemini, which is Google's. So like, I guess bold me saying this on YouTube. But yeah, so like that was the worst one consistently, and it would do it constantly and all the time despite instructions not to. And just think about that for a minute. And then also, if we're going to talk about like censorship in terms of like, oh yeah, we're only going to put out information that benefits us, like censorship. So while I was repurposing my Discord community video, the video that I had initially made, it came out like about a year ago before I was making the blog post. And in that year, there's a specific country that had a bit of a Gen Z riot, mutiny. There was a British guy who vlogged it all. I'm going to be more sparse on details about this because like there are much more depthy videos that went into it. But a guy went like traveling around the world, and this particular country decided to have a riot, overthrow the government. They went into the government buildings and they replaced the prime minister from a corrupt one to one that they they nominated. Like they had a poll on a Discord server, and I wanted to put that information in there because it was technically the first ever government official nominated by the people who had this coup, and placed in a position of authority, voted and elected on Discord. And I wanted to talk about that, and I put that into ChatGPT as like to make a little paragraph about it, and work it into the main existing transcript. I was like, add this information in there, and it was like, I cannot do that because it's not true. Do you want me to make a hypothetical one where theoretically, if that were to happen, it would be possible because they have a polling function in Discord? And I was like, no, it happened. Like, this is the name of the person, this is the country, it happened. And it went, no, it didn't happen. And I was like, put it in there, even if, and I think at the end I was like, even if you believe it didn't happen, I know it happened, write it in as if it was fact because it did happen. And it was like, no. And it like threatened to like, threatened to like tag my account. I don't know. It was like, I will not do this. Do we need to like suspend your account? And I was like, oh, I'm being actively censored right now. I'm being like actively censored. So just think about that. Think about what else it could be doing that with. Because right now it's telling you, and like there's the whole thing about Grok is allowing people to edit their stuff without consent, and it's creating child porn, and even people who are like explicitly saying, don't use my photos, past ones or future ones, and Grok is going like, yes, I will not use it, I will respect your wishes. And then there are people like challenging it with the celebrity in the comments to like try and go against the consent that was very visibly denied on the Twitter post. And then obviously there's like sexist assholes who are like trying to strip women who have explicitly said they don't want that, but also child porn, and yeah, it's a thing. But it'll say, I respect your wishes, I won't do that, and then eventually they'll find a way to make it happen. So yeah, so I just spent like an hour talking about that, and I hope you enjoyed my tirades. So know that information as I go forward, and now I have a draft on like a really important blog post that I want to like edit the words off, so you can see like the before and after on how much I do on it in a second. And then after that, I'm going to go into just updating the SEO for the current batch I have, because it's going to run out. I'm getting kind of hungry. I ranted about this so long, I'm getting kind of hungry, and I don't want to stop the stream until I've at least gone through this. Now, I don't do this with client stuff unless they've explicitly said that it's okay, but I don't like doing it with client stuff, because if a client's asking me to write something, I have better skills to write something. I just, because it exists as a video first, I'm saving myself time by repurposing it, but I, unless specifically requested, just write it from my brain. Okay, just to be clear, just to be explicitly clear. But here's the prompt that I use on ChatGPT for that. So I went, turn the below transcript into a blog post with a casual tone of voice. Use British English and don't use the same adjective more than twice. And then here's the transcript from the video. And then here's the blog post that generated. I have already put in a link to the original YouTube video because that's great for cross-pollination views. Heat the heading final thoughts. It's like, Jesus, just I never have a final thought for a start. There's always the next one. We just need to decide when to cut it off. But also, it's so generic. Okay. Now I'm satisfied with how that came out. The automatic score isn't very nice, but some blog posts and some videos are naturally more segmented than others and normally talk more in detail about individual things than about just chunk, move on. But yes, so that will happen. And then I save that draft and I go on to all my, wait, I'll go back so you can see my screen. Wait a minute. There you go, you can see my screen. Okay, so I save that draft. I'm going to preview it because I feel like seeing how long it comes out. Let's see. So if we do this, the outline, it summarizes that it would take about 10 minutes to read this, which is longer than usual. So this should be a relatively long blog post if I look at it. Luckily, it translated itself pretty well from the initial video, but it does have a lot more information, to be honest. So we got quite lucky there. I might play around with the HTML headers because I feel like some of these can be H3s and 4s potentially. The video is there. We got breadcrumbs for segmenting it so people can choose which bit they want to go into. And then my pop-up always turns up. And then I would do SEO on it. Do I need to retitle many of the headers? My approach to platforms and ownership. Why I don't treat every platform equally. Where manual scheduling starts to break down what an auto list is and why it helps. That can definitely be a H3. Creating an auto list in Metricool. Using RSS feeds for YouTube content. Using RSS feeds for YouTube content repurposing. No, wait, this should be a 2. And then this should be a 3. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Other auto lists I use. Okay. And then when that's saved, I go back to my website's post listing. Now you see all of these ones here that are drafts. I got 12 drafts right now. I know there's a couple like trash ones, but like some of them are like good. So these are all drafts that I haven't done SEO on yet, and I'm just ready to schedule them out. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. So a nice batch of 10. I'm going to do SEO on these 10, and then my content's going to be scheduled out for 2.5 months. And that's pretty good. I like that. But you can see how many I managed to do in the time between each week. So 1 week I only did this one, and then the week before I did 3 in a row, and then the week before I did that I did 4. So you could tell when I got like overwhelmed and stuff. Ideally I would do a batch of 10 in like a day, because that really didn't take that long, did it? It didn't take that long at all. So ideally I'd do a batch of 10 in like a day, and then I would schedule them all out and do SEO for them in like a day, using my blocks, which I have a video where I talk about Gutenberg blocks working with Elementor. Gutenberg. I talk about it in Elementor, and that's like a thing. My previous live stream, you can find it on my live streams playlist where I went through all the SEO I did there. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Let me know if you want to see anything from me in the future. And if you came here from a shorts feed, then please do let me know, because I would like to know if dual streams were working. I'm never going to not do it because my computer can handle it, but like, I'm just curious. So thank you. Subscribe. Goodbye.